Hello, everybody, and I'm Negative Light, and my friend Blue Phoenix right here. We are coming to you live for what we're calling the Dragon and the Phoenix. We're gonna work on this intro at some point. No, we're not.
Yeah, yes,
Oh,
we
snap, I forgot something again.
are.
Hello there.
I forgot to turn off a bunch of stuff. It's supposed to be a part of our pre-checklist thing. So let me just turn off all of these. Disable all those, and then also
And while you
actions.
do that, I will take you over with religion.
What are you doing? Stop doing that. FYI, we don't want the podcast to start this bad every single time, but
Oh no, I think it's funny and hilarious and amazing.
I'm not shocked, but
You're attacking my prophets. How dare you attack me?
I shall attack whomever I please.
Have you fixed your problem yet?
Yes, I did. And your profits are almost all gone, so
What do
soon
you mean all
enough.
gone? You haven't seen them all. You think that is all of my power?
Oh, you want truffles? No. Okay, now, let me just handle some purchases. Okay, now I'm good to go. Okay, so I know that we are starting some,
There we go. Now I can go.
So I guess the headline topic for today is that China has brought in some like censorship stuff for how they plan to handle specifically gaming. I would say like the microtransaction side of gaming. If I'm honest.
Yeah, they're stopping the extra pay loot box.
Yeah, all the like little microtransactions that honestly, well, and most of it is targeted to minors, and that's what they're targeting is like the minors side of things. So the big thing with that being, of course, that a lot of minors end up spending way too much time on playing some of these video games. And I'll even admit, like as a gamer, I think with some of these like Fortnite and there's a couple of them. I think the big thing is that the company Tencent, which is like a huge Chinese gaming firm, I think one of their games, I'm not sure which one it was off the top of my head. I want to say it's Overwatch. Do not quote me on that. Could very well be very wrong. Would be.
Don't know what you're trying to say.
So Tencent is a huge gaming company out in China, and basically they're running into a problem where now they're going to be losing a whole lot of money.
Yeah. It is one of the shooting games.
Yeah, and so I think it's Overwatch. I will be 100% honest. I personally am not as aware of what Tencent games Tencent owns, but I do know precisely that
A minute. I will look it up.
that they actually have been dealing with this problem. So yeah, China's been doing more and more basically censorship, but I think some of it's honestly good. Like, hey, kids should not be playing or getting a bunch of loot boxes and stuff all the time. They should not be being kind of put in these addictive game loops that honestly a lot of these companies push really, really hard.
There's the thing is the money, which is the skins and all that, which the game businesses are selling for.
Yeah.
But also, a lot of these games are technically free, so that is their own way of making money.
That is actually true. And one of those, I'm going to say, unfortunate side effects of the modern, like, free to play, but pay to win games, because most of them are, and the ones that aren't, they're very heavy on the whole skin comps and all that type of stuff. So definitely something that I think people should look into as you guys move into like looking at this. I actually think though, as a byproduct, as much as I like it, right, and me, Blue, you might have some opinions on the rules that they've implemented. Overall, I think that the long-term effect of it will end up basically removing Chinese games as being a dominant market and result in more more games that are made in the U.S. and are targeted to the U.S. player base.
You try to ban my religion.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Another thing I saw from somebody else missions, from doing the short searching, and that's how I found out about this. Now, laws like this sometimes does go into other countries.
Yes, that is actually extremely true. So, for example, some of the laws that the EU are making. One of the things that a lot of people are kind of hoping happens is that the the U.S. starts to allow the similar laws to what the EU has done, forcing Apple to ultimately become a good company. You know, I know that's kind of surprising, Apple being the good guy, but I think that's gonna, you know, I don't think if you're being forced, you're the good guy to begin with. So
Nah, it's more putting a leash on them.
yeah. But there's a lot of like anti-competitive stuff that Apple does all the time. And maybe putting a limit on that will actually significantly benefit the culture. But I'm going to go ahead and ask the chat. I'm going to put up a poll. What do y'all think of the Chinese game censorship?
Well, also talking about the censorship, it is going to change how gaming is done in China. It
Oh, yeah.
it's going to go back to the one-time buy games that aren't going to last really long.
I
Because the
mean,
transaction things let these big companies continue to make money and keep updating their games.
yeah, so I think I do kind of agree with that in that more and more you go in towards that type of behavior. So,
With mentioning Minecraft, it's getting to a point where their transactions, their game
yeah,
being free and always updating, is actually going to start losing money because
yeah,
they have so many people.
I actually do believe that the era of the eternally updated game is over. It's just not possible to sustain. Um, and that's not to say that it's inherently like a fully bad thing. It's just to say there is no realistic manner that one can continuously update a game and not start to effectively just lose money on every single attempt. It's kind of my thought process.
I think games will still have a way to update, and that's through commercials. So for the games in China, they're going to start doing commercial sales instead of the loot boxes and all that.
That is valid. That is definitely valid. So Mia Dragonheart in the chat, welcome. She asked, "What is censorship?" So censorship is basically preventing. Well, in this case, I'm not even certain if censorship is the right term now that I am thinking of it, but it's blocking people. So like censorship might be saying that like these books can't be sold or whatever. And in China, what they're doing is they are limiting what features can be in certain games. So specifically for children. So they've further limited the amount of time that children can play games. They've banned. So a lot of games will have this feature where you have like little like energy things, and you can only do so many actions every day. So they have banned that design that pattern question mark. I'm not sure if that's the right term. So they've banned that. They've banned loot boxes as well. And then they have also banned what else was it? They banned loot boxes. They've banned
Let's see, the simple way is they banned the extra buying stuff in the game.
Yeah. That is darn near exactly what they've done.
Which, for a lot of companies, that's going to hurt them. Because, again, if you're a free game and then your most income is doing the loot box on your free game and you don't do commercials, you just lost money.
Yeah, you don't do ads all the time. It does create problems for that gaming company because, again, you can't make a game for free. And I do agree with your assessment, Blue, that ultimately,
Your brain think.
yes, that long term, most games will become kind of like older style, like Legend of Zelda, things like that, where you pay once and you're done. You don't have to keep on buying into the game, or they're inundated with ads or whatever.
Well, not just once. It's that the game doesn't get updated anymore. Once it's out, that's it.
Yeah, they
There
sell the
might be
game
some
and they're
bug
done.
fixes, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think that is most definitely a good thing to look at, to focus on, and to work with. As a game developer, I think it would improve games because I think really the current state of gaming and like this focus on making this mind you, I don't think replayability is bad, but like this focus on just updating almost every 10 seconds is just not good for anybody at all.
Well, there's a shown that updating games is good, and there are ones of games that shouldn't be always updated.
It were weir's pays to keep
Survival
with their
world games,
mates.
you can always do update. The shooter games, you
Blood
can always do
fades
update.
payeth
A game with a
men at
storyline
great
behind it, that
expense.
should end after a point, where it's more focused on the story, and you get to a certain point and you're done.
Yeah,
So every game style is different.
very
The
true.
big question is, what type of game is it? And is it a game that needs to keep going? If it's an online game where you're playing with other players, those games are supposed to last a long time. You're running servers. doing that. If it's a solo one-player game, those games you usually can end it somewhere and it's still making some money because people will be buying the game, play a
Yeah.
bit, and then leave.
Now, in addition to effectively this kind of stagnating progress in the gaming sphere, I do think that the more, I'll say, middle term for gaming is more focuses on like producing a high quality, high story game that people want to play, people who want to buy more copies of the game. I think that's going to be very interesting to see in the short term, and possibly even in the long term. But I'm not too certain on that one, honestly.
So another thing is the short-term games do still exist. They're more popular on the Xbox and those game systems than the computer, and the computer has more of the full-time ones. But with this law, we'll see the popularity of the short ones go up, and for China will go up, and the other ones will go down
Yeah.
for some time. And then if the law disappears, if the law disappears, then we'll start seeing it going back because people like to have a game they can keep going back to.
Yeah, in China they'll stop producing the games that focus on um just selling loot packs, skin packs, things like that, and they'll start focusing on making. I'll be honest, I don't even know if gaming in China will last long to begin with. There's so many other issues surrounding that I just don't see Chinese gaming happening. But the other side of this too, though, is that in the U.S. there is something new coming, and that is that there is not a Chinese gaming. There is a gaming studio made by a group of Christians called True Play Games. Now, I will be honest, I have not played their games yet, so do not quote
I just
me.
found out today, so I
Yeah,
don't know.
no, like don't take our word for their theology or doctrine, but it is very clever, and I have seen like some of the so I saw these guys on TikTok actually, and I've seen some of the gameplay, and it's like actually not bad games, which, mind you, for a lot of Christian companies, and I know this is going to sound so bad, but a lot of Christian companies are just plain old, just not at all good at doing this one bit. And so I think, frankly, the more that Christian gaming becomes a thing, I'm hoping that companies like this crop up a little bit more. What are your thoughts on stuff like this, though, Blue? I know that we've kind of talked about like Christian story making and stuff as in the past, but what do you think about this like Christian games? I think their focus is mostly on Bible stories, FYI.
By the look of their frame, it looks like they have a Candy Crusher version with. I don't
Ooh,
know what to say about that.
okay, I did not notice that. Um,
Um, it looks like it is mostly a education game, so it's not your standard gameplay that a kid would pick themselves. It would be a game a parent would pick for them.
that is true, and that can cause problems as well, given that some of these can most definitely cause a greater deal of problems.
Also, there is a. I'm going to a board game. I have a Christian board game where you play at the disciples and your goal is to spread the good news based on the history moments that have happened after Jesus left.
Mm-hmm.
So you got that Exodus moment, and then you also got some other moments afterwards.
Okay.
Which that is actually a great story game where you're playing. You have a mission, you're playing this, and then it can also lead to another topic. Um, those games I think are great ideas, where it's a game that can lead to more talking about the Bible and all that. I even had
Yes.
an idea in the past. I don't know what your opinion would be on it, but like a Age of Empire style of the Old Testament game.
Yeah. So I think things like that are honestly interesting. Um, I think the big thing for how to approach that, of course, is to not only consider my brain dies way too often, y'all. Is to also
Come on,
consider like how you're bringing up that conversation. So one of the issues that I
yeah.
personally have with a lot of the gaming or movie industry for Christianity is that we shoehorn the ideas we're talking about. Which, mind you, this type of game where you're allowing for a conversation to happen afterwards, I think is much better than like this shoehorning like gospel presentation in the middle of the movie that just doesn't make sense. Most of the time, I think there's only been like one I saw that actually work. But yeah, let's see here: grant amenities or chosen resource grants no amenities. We're gonna go for extra amenities, and I'm gonna go for that. And then
Well, I'll let the voting thing go on.
okay. So overall, yeah. But let's see what the chat thought about Chinese game censorship. So they just kind of said it was meh. But what do you guys think about Christian storyteller games? So
That's 2 victory points on me. Yep, that's 2 victory points on me.
what? Snap! I haven't even been paying attention to the victory conditions.
I know you haven't.
I mean, I usually just focus on the whole faith part because I can basically just eradicate people.
Yeah, I just turned coffee into nothing.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Think you're doing really well with your religion evasion. Uh,
So so Christian gaming, I think it's going to. I think the big one though is there is a company out there that is working on making like a full retelling of I think it's just Jesus's lifetime, like as a first person game. Uh, or it was the Judges. It was one of the two. But basically, like they're going through the Bible and they're trying to be like as accurate as possible, which I think is kind of cool, honestly. Um,
cool. Like it would be interesting to see a game where you have to play as a missionary in a country where the Bible is not allowed to be spread,
oh yeah, no, I mean
and showing the topic and showing what people go through to share the good news.
that is most definitely true. Uh, in addition to that, I think the more that you play with that type of topic, the more interesting it becomes. Another side too is making a game like that and designing it in a manner where it can get past the Chinese censors. Super hard, but most definitely possible. Um,
Well, a lot of games, if you're trying to get past China's censor and you're saying you're a Christian or any belief, it's going to be very hard to get past them.
that is 100%. true. Um, the Chinese censors are very harsh on a lot of things, and like that's even down in like movies. They'll block if you have there was what was the one that they blocked? They block like different things on your like posters and stuff too. Oftentimes they have censors for the sake of blocking your
Well, for example, Disney literally has changed so many movies before they go into China because
yeah.
of their blocking.
Well, like don't they even block like people because of the race and junk? Like they for some reason don't like black people or something. Is that if I'm not mistaken, like because
So,
what was his name?
but I also know they have blocked a lot of comedians.
Yes.
They will block you if your party view is different than theirs.
Yes. Anything political, basically just don't
Mostly,
even
if you
try.
disagree with them, they'll block you.
If you breathe wrong, they block you.
It's also they are a communist country.
Yeah. Well, like communism is kind of a both a political and a religious thing. It's a lot of people think it's just political, but it is most definitely both political and religious. Um, and there is nothing to convince me otherwise, to be very honest. Um,
Money.
so I don't know. But I don't know. So I guess we should get down to I think a little bit more on that Disney topic though. So She-Hulk apparently lost 22 million dollars from She-Hulk.
To say I totally see it because it is a full-on insult to everyone.
Yeah, I know. Like I don't know what their thought was on making it, but honestly,
Well, the writers went out and announced that they had no idea who Seahawk was really is. They didn't even know how to make a lawyer show.
well, that's your first off. They tried to make a lawyer show without knowing how to make a lawyer show. That's you failed. Okay.
And if you watch their last episodes, they literally in there admit that they don't even know what to do for the ending.
They don't know what to do for the ending. That ooh.
That's why there's a lot of reasons it lost.
Yeah.
It failed.
I will be very honest. Just seeing the CGI on it, I was like, nah, I'm just not watching this. I actually have not watched She-Hulk because of some of the CGI in it. It was just so bad.
As a Marvel person, I cannot recommend it.
FYI, so I know y'all don't know Blue very well yet. He is my best friend. We have been best friends since middle school. We have watched the entirety of the MCU from Iron Man to Endgame in 1 week when it came out. Okay. We have talked Marvel for most of our friendship. I think pretty much all of it.
Marvel been our topic.
Yeah, Marvel has been a go-to topic.
We
And so
did a
usually
Marvel
there's stuff to talk about.
marathon. We did a
Yeah.
Marvel marathon. So
Yeah, like nobody goes and doesn't like Marvel and then goes and spends a week watching every single movie. Oh my gosh, that was never again. Never again. But it is so very, very interesting.
So-
I guess state
So Marvel's been having a history of trying to change genders.
Yeah.
And when Stan Lee's been alive, he's been the main one stopping them from doing it. So the newest thing that came out is there's a Fantastic Four movie coming, which has been in works for a long time. And they announced that they're changing the Silver Surfer to a female.
Wait, what? Like, that doesn't make. Like, I know it doesn't technically matter.
It doesn't technically matter in the way of any person can become the Silver Surfer. The part that's going to irritate fans is the specific character that is on the board that they're changing the gender for.
Yeah, I know. Like, I don't know. It just it doesn't feel like it's right for the Silver Surfer. Like, that doesn't make much sense. It's like, what the heck? I don't know what to say there, other than it is most definitely a very bad ploy, I guess, to get more people to watch or whatever. Um, the
And the
whole
thing is, sorry, you go ahead.
the whole like I don't know, like hyper obsession with doing that is kind of annoying. But yeah. So a viewer just asked, why would anyone want Christian storytelling games? Some people may be behind, so I will suggest click the live button if you guys if you notice that y'all are a little bit late. But honestly, as a Christian, I would like to kind of play a first person like walkthrough game. Now, I will note that the Christian storytelling games that I am talking about are targeted towards children, explaining the basics of the faith and things like that. It is not insane stuff. And it's got a lot. No, and like we understand people's opinion when it comes to like not wanting it or whatever. I'm explaining why we would like it. And
The thing is, this is more like if you're a parent and your kids are playing a lot of games, which game would you rather your kids play? Play a game that's focused more in evolution teaching, or as a Christian, or do you want your kids playing a game that's focused more on Christianity? If you're a Christian, you would go towards the Christianity stuff.
And I'll highlight too. So he mentioned that his parents actually forced him to play those games. And I'll be frank. One, the games when we were younger were all not good.
But it was more of that's the games they would buy for you.
Yeah. And so like I can get that. Like I agree. My opinion on Christians in the media is that in general we have not actually like done well. We have not produced much good out there other than a couple series. And I do mean like a handful. Not a bunch. And I would say like Angel Wars and maybe Bible Man, but only like
This
certain parts of Bible Man.
The specific time period of Bible Man that was good. It's
Yeah.
also the time when they made fun of themselves as well. So
Yes, it was funny because they were like it was like the Adam West Batman series, right? It was like we know we're extremely corny. We don't care. But yeah, so AAA Games and is doing all of that, and that feeds into like, and that's where we kind of got back into the whole Disney is really like falling apart. But the other side is that is that honestly, Disney's not doing well even without like changing stuff in Marvel. So the Wish TV show, have you heard about that, Blue?
The Wish TV show.
Or not TV show, the movie Wish.
Movie, yeah.
Um,
I heard of the movie. There is no TV show, so
yeah, the movie for Wish was so bad. You're literally waiting for me to use my. I see now.
see nothing.
Um, the movie Wish just flopped because I mean, just starting with the score of it, like the main villain doesn't even act like like. First off, they've been on a kick of like most movies have been on this kick of like there is no true villain or whatever, which is really weird to do, honestly. Um,
Trend of villains becoming the most popular characters, and people want their popular character to have a good ending.
yeah. Um,
And which you have to talk about is why is the villain now the most popular character and not your main character or their side characters?
and is part of that they cannot make a compelling hero anymore. That's one of the issues I see. Like most of the heroes are not people I would sit down and try to support like half the time. Even the okay ones. It's not to say that they're all bad though. But like I think the last like truly irredeemable villain would probably be Mother Gothel from Tangled. Unless was it Tangled and then Princess and the Frog, or was that the other way around?
Princess Frog was after Tangle.
Princess and the Frog was after Tangled. Okay.
Yes. But if you talk about that, that's not the time period where the villain thing started. This villain thing actually started a bit around some people could say for Disney it's connected to Loki.
Um, well, no, because they've been doing that for a long time.
Well, they've
I've
been doing it
found.
a long time, but for one of the trends that really made it popular, Loki was one of them, and then there were a couple others which just pushed it all the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, mind, we have kind of been in an era of the anti-hero or the anti-villain for a long time.
Yes, we have.
So that is one thing to note. The anti-hero, the anti-villain, and type of stuff has been like this idea like, oh, I'm edgy and subverting your expectations when not, has been just super popular as of late. I don't know why.
So this is
But
why I think the villain's more powerful than the hero. The hero is getting all the political stuff dumped on them,
that is true.
and then the villain is not. If you look at our villains, they do not have any political stuff dumped
It's
on
all
them.
papers and forms.
Well, also they put a lot more character development into the villains nowadays. Like they
There's that
actually
too.
flesh them out as like a human being, while a lot of the heroes kind of just fit into stereotypes. Like there are some heroes you can kind of get away with that. Like I would say Superman's probably one, but most of the other ones you really have to work on their flaws and like highlight them because it's like they're countering their flaws. Well, like Superman is like the idealicness of being, equivocally a god. Like that's kind of most of DC's motif. Is that a good thing? I'm not too certain. Um,
I'm sorry. I don't feel good about what I just did to you. You may continue your sentence.
So the more that we kind of gain in, I would say, prowess as a culture, less I think we have though. I think right now our our culture just needs a lot of shifting. I think that a lot of the culture of the I don't know. A lot of what we've been doing has just not been working. And I'm genuinely hoping that we can that we can push against the kind of current state of like not I would say I'm not going to say anti-creativity, but it's definitely not creative. There's a lot of just lack of genuine desire to make something good, to make something new. Um,
The point of big companies are afraid because of the whole political thing. Making something new just costs a lot more danger for big companies.
that is very true. A lot of companies have been kind of rehashing old stuff over and over. Um, and yeah, that is
Um,
definitely
Also, just look at the political thing and going back to the main character and why they aren't popular. Another reason is the main character can be changed any moment just to fit the political standard because if they don't, their whole series, TV series, or all their movies might be canceled.
that is true. And that most definitely I think puts excessive amounts of pressure on these companies. In mind, I definitely think that we are in an era of I would call creative bankruptcy, um, as of right now. Um,
I don't
but
fully think it is creative bankruptcy. I think it is more a creative fear. We all this political stuff that's going on is stopping people from creating what they want to create. Like if you are, for example, for Christians, if we make a certain TV show in a certain way, we're going to get hate by other Christians. We're going to get hate by other parties, and the hate is going to talk louder than any of the likes.
yeah, I mean, I would also say though, as Christians, we got to acknowledge. In mind, I do think there are Christians who take this too far. Is this concept of, um, well, we're just going to be hated anyways, so we should just put everything out anyways. And I'm like, no, that is a wrong attitude. Yes, but because I think that we should put out quality, but we should also not be shocked when people despise what we made. Um,
Yeah. There's no talk in that. Let me. My brain trying to say it.
yeah. So
So the
one of
whole
the
thing is it's not just the fact of hate, it is literally the fact of deleting.
yeah,
It is it's one of the biggest way you can see it is literally in books.
true.
Schools in America has been canceling many books
Yes. Now
throughout.
mind, there will be some that say it's kind of happening on both sides. And to some degree I would say that's true.
What some of the books I do agree do not have in the school, like the ones that are more sexual wise. Like yeah, you shouldn't really have those in the school system
Yeah.
as books. But and then you also got the ones that are like the Cat in the Hat, where he's being canceled just because he's not black.
Well, so that one is a little bit more complicated. There are some accusations about Dr. Seuss, the person behind the Cat in the Hat, being a racist.
Well, that would be a little different, but also his book isn't made to be racist. His book is education of
I mean,
reading.
it's more focused
It's a
on
reading thing, which you have to think about is because a lot of the older books there is going to be racist in it because that's their time period. That's how they grew up and believed in. So you need to ask what is the focus of the book.
yeah. In the
Like the
book,
Little House in the Prairie, I think I'm saying it right. They got
Yeah.
canceled because they showed Native Americans the wrong way. Well, that's how they believed Native Americans
Yes.
were at their time period.
Well, and as a
It was
note, an
British.
aside on Little House on the Prairie is that Laura Ingalls Wilder actually showed them in a very favorable light, and oftentimes her family basically taught her it's like they're people, we should not be taking over their land and things like that. And when they would find out, oh, we accidentally stole their land, we did not know this, we were not told that, they left. That's where they had the big house, which was in one part of the New World, the frontier tier area, and then they moved further out. Laura Ingalls Wilder was very much progressive for her time, and what a lot of people basically bring to her that she's racist was that she was talking. There was a particular instance in the books where she was talking about some Native Americans that came to her house and talked to her family. And she was just saying that she was kind of, as a kid, unnerved by two shirtless guys in her house. I am sorry. I cannot blame a child for being a little unnerved by that. Is the thing. Like, I don't know if anyone, like, it seems unreasonable to have a kid not be unnerved by that, actually.
So that's an example of a book that shouldn't really been canceled. It should have been more of like, all right, let's talk about this.
Yes, because I definitely think there's some stuff wrong with how she addressed things and all that. Because, I mean, she was an imperfect person in an imperfect time, just like everyone else in all forms of art are. I mean, heck, looking at art, like we have AI art right now, which is a whole revolution. It's definitely like changing things, but overall, we need to look at like what were these people's focus, what were these people's intentions, what were these people's goals, what time were they in, and that's where you critically think about art. It's not pull it out. It does require critical thinking, and yes, I know as a Christian, I know that there are Christians who definitely do not think about what they're doing when they push for certain books to be kicked out of schools and so on. I do genuinely believe that there are a lot of things that Christians have done wrong when it comes to books and reading. But I also think that we're kind of on the opposite side of having a net negative impact now, because the everybody is pushing against that even harder, and that's causing more problems.
The thing we need to figure out is for books and shows is why are they being canceled? Is it actual reason for it?
Yeah. And critically,
And
like,
I need a
question
pause.
why.
I'm getting an important call.
Oh, okay. So while he's away, I'm going to go ahead and end this current poll. And we'll go ahead and create a new poll. What do you guys think about the concept of Disney's are the current state of movie villains? Do you think that it's a good thing that we kind of have this more like nuanced, super nuanced villain of the week type thing, or do you think it's a bad thing inherent that like we have not been having really good villains that are just bad people? Like I think about Ursula from The Little Mermaid, or the voodoo guy. I cannot remember his name for the life of me. I just remember that he's a voodoo guy from for The Princess and the Frog. Or do you think it's just kind of neutral about it? What do you guys think about that? It's definitely one of those more interesting parts, but I don't know. I think that it's definitely difficult to I would say place a hard position on, but I definitely think it's important to question, consider, and push for a better overall system. Okay, I'm gonna adjust these. I'm gonna put in that. Okay, and then add some city defense. There we go. I think that's my last unit. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and give my opinion on AI art and the current state of AI, and that is that overall, I think AI art is going to be a net positive for humanity, but the current state of how we both gather the images to train AI, as well as not only how we gather them, but also how we transmit kind of the ownership of those different rights is definitely not in the it's not the best format right now. Now, mind you, I also think that that directly ties into a bunch of additional issues regarding copyright and different parts there. So like, first off, I'll go ahead and tell y'all, I am a software engineer. I know a lot about AI. I have thought about going and kind of further my education, focusing in on artificial intelligence, because as a whole, it's not that AI art is inherently fully a bad thing, but AI art, if used wrongly, and I do think that there are parts of how we are using it that is currently wrong. I think that AI art specifically needs to hone more on some areas that are going to be more difficult to explain, I think. So, first off, I think that when it comes to AI art, we need a more clear way of both requesting someone's permission as well as a better way of preventing direct copying from someone's work. So AI art, at the end of the day, is really just an algorithm on top of a bunch of training data. And sadly, right now, there is a way to go from the training data plus your inputs to a carbon copy of someone's work. That should not be possible. We need to be training that out of these AI models as soon as possible, frankly. Additionally, the AI models most definitely need to the AI models most definitely also need to have more permission in what they're training. So an example is that they have found, I think it was Midjourney, they had like a list of a bunch of artists that they went and they looked at, and they literally stored the people who they took art from, okay, having claimed that they had just scraped the web. They weren't really able to ask permission. They actually knew who they took art from and labeled their art with that artist as a tag to generate different styles. And I'm like, well, buddy, go figure. Like that is a problem. That is problematic, and I think that was wrong. You know, if you are scraping something from the web, then you should at least have to do the hard work of sitting down and going through those billions of art pieces. And FYI, Blue is AFK for a little bit, so he will be back. I'm going on my rant for a little bit. So if you're going to do that, right? If you're going to scrape the web and just gather billions of pieces of art, right, to feed into your data training set, then you need to be able, then you as an individual need to have to go in and manually label those, which, yes, makes a lot of these AI algorithms really hard and really slow to build. But I think that is necessary if you're going to want that algorithm to be genuinely transformative. Because if it cannot label it attached to an artist, then it would be insanely difficult to really copy someone's art style without putting in an astronomical amount of work, to the point where it would actually be easier for you to manually copy someone's work by hand. Because I do believe that there is some AI art that is real, genuine art, but I'm talking about more of the more complex art generation tools where you're not just putting in a prompt, but you are taking and like there's one that I really like where you have a positive prompt and you have a negative prompt, and then you can like tie it in and you can make different layers over time. And that over time can make something better. So that's an interesting take. So using pieces of AI, so purposefully copying someone as an art, copying an artist. Yeah, that is definitely bad, and I absolutely agree with that, Ernest. Using pieces of AI art to help create your art, I think that is, for some, that is more plausible. I'll be frank. I have to use it because I have no good way of making art myself. The label for the podcast is actually AI art. I've gotten onto the AI art rant, so I'm going to be going for a little bit. And I definitely do think that using AI art as like a reference or an inspiration, 120% should be something you do. And mind, I even edit the AI art. So I actually went and I've been working to clean up the image that we use for the background for the Pheonix and the Dragon. But mind, I don't have a lot of time to work on art and all that. So it's a little bit at a time. You guys will notice tiny differences over time as I adjust things and tweak them in our art because I'm having to teach myself Photoshop to begin with. So when it comes to AI art and AI kind of image building stuff, I think overall, there is more to benefit from using AI art, but again, it needs to be retweaked. The other side, I also believe, is that you should have what I call a self model, which is basically where I'll take my channel artist Tiffany Jacks as an example. She could take and put all of her art catalog, right, and maybe add a bunch of other stuff and feed that into an algorithm. That way she can make cheap things that fit her style pretty easy. Yes. So, and that's the other side, is that AI is already too useful to not use at this point. It's just, that's true. But yeah, so Blue, are you back?
Something pop up and now has been dealt with.
Okay, awesome. So as far as the self model piece, like I definitely think that's going to be useful for especially smaller artists who maybe want to offer cheaper commissions, because I do get like, I do believe that artists should be paid for their work. I try my best to not skimp out on my channel artist Tiffany Jacks. That being said, I also have to say, yo, I cannot pay you that much because I don't have that kind of money. And so I'm sorry. And that's where, like, even like if you look at my channel art, there is some jank in my art, and there's some stuff because truthfully, what it came down to was, can I afford it? I cannot. I just can't. And so for now, I have to wait, and that's how it's gonna be.
Oh, it's cold.
Yeah. And so, and I think that ultimately using AIR as a temporary substitute / an inspiration tool is kind of the important part. Like AI art was fundamental in giving the inspiration for my current channel art. And so, yeah, of course, I think it's a good thing, especially for like non-artistic inclined people like me, who don't know what to do. But yeah, so Blue, what's your thoughts on AI art? I know we were going to talk a lot about it. There's a lot of areas to hit, so we may not be able to hit all of it tonight, but hopefully we can hit it a good bit.
My thought on AI art is, where is the AI getting the inspiration from? If it's like a artist that gave permission to the AI art to use his art to learn and create something, I believe is good, is fine, and that it can be useful in ways. Is when the problem is when you're using AI art on art that people have worked on and did not get permission to.
So somebody noticed that I misspelled Pheonix in the description. I guess we should tell them. How is your isn't your how is yours is yours Phoenix
My
spelled right?
Phoenix is spelled wrong, and there is a whole history behind that, and that is a totally another topic.
Yes, I'm sorry. I know that's a weird aside. The fun part about having a small podcast right now and doing this live is like we can have like minor conversations. If I see something that's like
It
legitimately funny.
the short version of it is, email did not. It was hard to get an email name. That is the short version behind of why it's misspelled.
Yes.
Another thing is, I'm not the only one with the misspell. If you look up Phoenix, a lot of channels, a lot of people misspell their Phoenix.
That is true. I noticed you were not the only person that way. Because I have tried putting in your name a couple times, like to at you in a description of a video or something, and it'll be just some weird thing, and I'm like, what the heck? What is going on here?
Yeah, so Phoenix is one of those things that's always been misspelled.
I feel like it's pretty easy to misspell, to be honest.
Oh, it's very easy to misspell it. Also, it's another reason why my channel that I'm still working on is not called Blue Phoenix anymore.
Yes, it is actually called. Well, I won't give them the name. Do we want to give them the name now?
You can give the name. There is some shows on it. I'm
Yes. So
working
his
on
channel name is
something
Blue Fire Tales. So
with. It's also the last word. It's not like the story tales. It's actual tales.
yes. So that's a fun bit. My name is not misspelled. I have made sure it was spelled right. Negative. I mean, mind you, I do very frequently misspell it. So yeah, but AIR, the other side though is kind of optimizing it to work for, in particular, the usage for like animation studios to kind of smooth out and help build out textures in greater detail than a human ever could to begin with. I think
So,
that's something people miss out on a lot in this
um,
conversation.
AI art would be great for film and all that. The thing is more of a helper companion, and I'm going to keep pushing this. It's a helper companion, not a full replacement.
100% agree. And I don't think that AI will ever be a full replacement for any job. It'll be kind of like Excel.
Well,
So
it would be a thing where it could make like a whole army of people, a job that would have a lot of people, go down to one person in his AI or her AI.
yeah, that is
Um,
true.
the thing I see is AI can help you make a couple things. So you built this whole world and you're missing something in the middle for your video, so your video looks good. Well, you can use AI to learn from all the things you already built for the background and add that missing spot based off of those,
Yeah,
which is something I can see it helping.
that is that is true. Um, and the other side of that also being effectively like with like motion based stuff. So moving your character from different poses and doing the in betweens. I
So
definitely think it can.
talking about that, technically Blender's already doing that. If you go on like Blender or even some other softwares, you can do two poses and then the system will already figure out how to connect those two poses.
Okay, and is it like fairly good?
It's pretty good. There's sometimes you have to fix it. Like if you're having your character fully turn around, it's going to be very buggy. But if you want your character just to walk, it's going to do really well.
Okay, so
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 big
it's
movements where
good at
you're moving
specific
a lot of your
states.
limbs everywhere, it's going to struggle. But like for small movements, it's going to do really well.
Interesting. Um, Overall, I think that AI will help with those edge cases then. The other side, of course, being kind of working more as an assistant. Like, there was something at CES that was announced called the Rabbit, where it's literally like your own little like personal assistant tool, and it would use ChatGPT to meet all these different endpoints. And I definitely see that's where ChatGPT is going, where like I can just say to my phone, "Hey, I have these 12 appointments," or it could sit down and scan through my emails, and it would give me a good summary of the important information, and also follow my instructions and delete emails that I would delete because over half of them are a waste of my time. Because yes, they do drive me insane. And yes, they do make me mad.
Another thing AI can will help is also understanding research. So you did a whole study on something, you got all these charts made. The AI might help you find the pattern in something.
Yes, and I actually do think it'll help with. So there is a huge issue in scientific literature today when it comes to basically like missing different biases or misrepresenting graphics. That's a super common problem. And so I think long term, something that will be intriguing to see, though I don't know for a fact if we will see it for a good while, is is AI being used to kind of generate a communication layer between like the scientific elite and the common person, and also between individuals. So like how I would the graphic that would convey the idea of what this research does for me might look completely different for Blue, and that will always be the case.
Well,
Um,
talking about something, I think I remember YouTube announcing that they're working on a thing that will translate your videos for you and actually make your map look like it's talking that language
So
in your
that's not
words.
YouTube, it's a different service, but it's the same kind of idea, which is this
I
like,
have heard YouTube talking about maybe using something like it.
oh, so YouTube themselves do. Okay, I didn't know that it was going to be a first party thing, but yeah, that is one thing. Deleting the language barrier that exists. Oh, dude, that will make so much more of a market available. And one of the things that people also don't get, like, oh, yeah. So, for example, with the animation stuff, where we're talking about like a whole office of people might be able to be reduced down to one person eventually with some of these AI tools. Um, and so, one of the things that I think we're going to see happen is effectively the effectively what will happen is that will lower also the threshold, the moat that these companies build. So a lot of companies build what's called a moat, which is basically just a set of skills and tools that only they have that make them far more resistant to um, being usurped, maybe. I don't know if usurped is the right term, as the leader in a space. So, like Disney has Pixar and a bunch of animation studios, they own a whole lot of copyright. That is their moat. It is a massive component of their content empire that is actively working to prevent opponents from coming in. Well, if AI art makes it to where a whole department gets reduced to one person, well, then what happens if you have 5 people? You have equivalent of 5 of those departments. And Disney can do just fine, but guess what? You can do 10 times better than them. You can just sit down and knock out of the park something that used to take them a decade plus to do. And I think that's something that we should most definitely acknowledge in the coming time. So AIR is absolutely, and I think fundamentally, something that's going to change the world. And I think it's going to lead to different things. Like you and me, Blue, we've talked a lot about this privately, but like ultimately the death of Disney as a company, at least how it exists today. I think really what's going to happen, the realistic thing that's going to happen, is that Disney will basically become will split up into a bunch of separate smaller companies.
So the thing
Instead
is,
of being this one
Disney
big
is
conglomerate.
gonna always be there. They have put their names in the ground. They're never gonna totally be gone. The thing
True.
that's coming is Disney is gonna lose the title of top entertainment.
Yeah. I can definitely I agree with that.
Which also another thing that's partly keeping Disney in there is the fear of making something new. If you really look at it, with the other big companies to take their places, but the people who aren't afraid to make things new are the YouTubers, the TikTokers.
Yeah, content creators, because we're constantly having to make something new to entertain people. And that is definitely one of the issues that I think is probably going to get solved by especially YouTube in the coming, weeks and months. Is like how content creation is going to look in the coming like weeks, months, and years, um, and how we will have to deal with uh, effectively what I would say is a near dead internet, maybe. But speaking of ideas that seem like they maybe came from AI art, Cosmix, which is the so McDonald's has come out with this like new, I'm gonna say Sonic spinoff. For those that don't know what Sonic is a drive-through food chain in the South that I know of, where you just drive in, you have like little car booths, and then you order from your car, and they bring it out. Usually, some of the girls, typically girls, there are guys
It's
who are
for the East
waiters there,
Coast,
but
just to let you know. It's the East Coast area. Sonic is
okay, I didn't know how north it went. I knew it was common in the South. So, um, but they'll also come out on like roller skates. And their big thing is their drinks. They did try going for their hamburgers and not good. But Cosmix kind of feels like they're targeting more of the like take and like marry a Starbucks with a Sonic. And that's kind of what I feel they're targeting, which also sounds awful, but also sounds like an idea an AI literally came out with. Now, there have been some interesting theories about like some of their branding and the possibility that was somehow related to the Grimace Shake. If anybody remembers that hot mess from a couple months ago, that was interesting. That was a very interesting time in our area and in like all of social media. It feels like all of social media was dealing with that, honestly. Um, but yeah, what are your thoughts on the whole Cosmix thing, Blue?
it's an interesting idea doing a whole drink business. With also just the whole fact that they're technically splitting up a drink business from their whole thing, from their McDonald's. Because it truthfully they could have just added to McDonald's and made it a bigger menu, but instead they separated it so they could be something different to
If
give
you
you
see
the
a
different
castle in
vibe.
the
Because McDonald's is known as the cheap food place, and they want this to be the trendy place.
Yeah, which also means that it's going to be a higher price point, which means they can make more money. Which you tell a CEO they can make more money, and guess what they're going to do? They're going to try to make more money.
Just thinking about that, there's so many companies actually out there that have other businesses.
Oh no, there are businesses that own businesses that own businesses, and ironically, up at the top of all of them is a couple of companies that kind of own each other in a loop.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a whole giant issue in kind of the American current political state that for that yeah.
Did you see any of the drink options they were offering?
Um, there is one that stuck in my head, and I don't know what's named, but it's like it's a slushy that is yellow and like has like a pink top of like slushy. It's so weird, and I'm just not sure what to think of it. Um, I don't know what that could. I don't know what's going on with it, but it is just a hot mess. It is definitely one of those uh, games or one of those places that I don't know if they're actually going to do well at all, frankly. I think they're going to extremely struggle.
think it's gonna do a little bit okay off the beginning because it's something new and people want something new to go towards and advertise to get themselves popular. The big question is actually how much is it actually going to cost, and is search and accessory good?
Yeah, that is actually very true.
And another
Um,
thing is the timing. With right now, their whole goal is to time it with the whole trending with a drink. Another company that tried to do timing that failed really badly is Toys R Us. They tried to do a comeback in the U.S. where kids could play with the toys and then they could buy it later, and they were dropping it right when COVID hit.
ooh, and that would explain why that died. I was wondering what happened to that. Because
Uh,
I was aware of it, but was not like super aware of it.
yeah. So if you look at the date when they were planning to open the first one, and you look at the date of COVID first time COVID announcement in the U.S., they are very close to each other.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
I thought that plan would work really well until again
until that,
COVID.
yeah. I mean, having a place where kids can go and hang out is definitely a hard thing, but definitely very, very interesting.
Misclick buttons. There we go.
Um, yeah.
I So what is something you guys want us to talk about
Yeah,
a bit
so
more
so
about in this?
so for those of you that are watching, we would like to know, are there other topics that y'all in particular would like us to bring up? And we may not get to all of them. We may not get to them tonight, but possibly in like future streams, future podcasts. We would like to hear them, especially even if you're watching this afterwards. Leave them in the comments. We still see those, even though um, even though this podcast is done streaming, we can get to those later on, and it makes it really fun. Um, because I personally do find involving community makes streams and events just so much more fun.
And also, we are a new thing, so we want to talk about what you guys mostly
Oh
want to
yeah,
talk about.
yes, and mind, we also have things that we like to talk about, and yes, you will get rants from us from time to time. We do try to tone it down, tame it down a little bit, but there's a lot of cool stuff that we enjoy. I know that we've actually worked on like a book as kids, and we've worked on so many different things throughout our early childhood into adulthood. Um,
Which another thing, if you want us to talk about our past as being homeschoolers,
oh yeah,
Christians, I
yes.
have stories where I worked at a Christian leadership program I went through. I did robotics. I have worked in fast food.
Yes, and I have worked specifically at Chick-fil-A. I was definitely more of the stereotypical homeschooler growing up, but it was definitely an interesting time for me growing up with each of those kind of areas steadily growing, honestly, on me.
Also, I experienced. Actually, I don't know where I'm going to go with this. So
Yeah.
let me just change that. Has anybody dropped a comment? I think I saw my name.
No, I think a lot of people are listening. So I think what we'll do is for those that are watching, leave a comment after we finish with the stream, or if you're on my Discord, let us know there. Um,
if you see any like video or something that pops up that you want us to check out, just if there's a spot you could maybe have them drop off.
Yeah, so they can put it in the suggestions. I have a suggestions forum on my in my Discord. If you want to pop over there, you can put your suggestions there. We'd love to hear those. And those will be in my Discord. If you're seeing this in the live stream, you may not see this in the podcast, but it is also connected on my link tree, which is in my profile. But it'll be in the chat for the live stream version if you're watching this in video. And that's a great way to get in contact with us if you guys have any interesting ideas as well. But I think that we will end it here. And we
think
will
so.
see y'all. Since y'all are a pretty tech savvy guy, I have a question for you. My hand is currently trapped in the blades of my GPU. I have no clue how to fix that one. I don't know that it's related to the podcast. Definitely interesting mind, but definitely not related to the podcast. I don't know how you got yourself trapped in a GPU blade fans. That is weird, Ernest.
I don't know either. I think we should end it here. So
Yep. Without further ado, we'll see y'all next week. Make sure to give us some ideas. We'd like to check them out. Of course, we'll be bringing in some stuff from the news and all that as well. So stay tuned and adios.